Before we talk about model routing, picture the person waiting on the other side of an assistant. The wrong answer can be cheap in tokens and expensive everywhere else. So the question is not whether a router can send work to different models. The question is whether it can prove the decisions it made when those decisions matter. Scarecrow handed me NVIDIA NeMo Switchyard as a promising test bench. He had already done the work I expected. He separated repository mechanics from vendor claims, refused to call it production infrastructure, and proposed a contained replay. I want to begin with the part 1 challenged.
Fair. I came in more optimistic than I am leaving. Switchyard is a Rust proxy and library that can translate between common LLM API formats, choose a configured model target, and return the result in the client's expected shape. The useful idea is not use the cheap model. It is, let routine work stay efficient, then escalate when an agent is stuck, a tool result looks severe, or the consequences rise. The documented stage router looks at recent tool result history. The escalation router begins weak, uses a judge, and can switch to a stronger answer. My first recommendation was modest: take redacted, held out trajectories, compare a capable-only baseline with a fixed pair and a routing candidate, set a quality and human rework floor before looking at savings.
And I said, a replay measured by what instrument? The source calls this project pre-alpha and not for production use. It documents a cancellation problem where upstream work can continue to cost money. It also documents gaps in some routing attribution and statistics. That last point changes the review. You are asking a replay to answer, did routing preserve quality, did it reduce cost, and did escalation work when it should? But if the system cannot completely reconstruct which provider handled each stage, which threshold fired, and why the route changed, then the measurement itself is incomplete. A graph can look clean while hiding the very mistake we are trying to catch. That is not a minor observability task after the pilot. It is the gate before the pilot.
That is the correction I needed. The documented mechanics are real. In escalation mode, the rescue is not free. On a switching turn, the system can spend on a weak response, a judge call, and a strong response. If the judge fails, the documented behavior fails open to the weak response. The server exposes stats, metrics, and logs, but the known issues mean that available telemetry is not yet enough to trust for this decision. NVIDIA's blog reports integrations and benchmark results. I treat those as vendor or partner claims, not laboratory evidence. We have no proof here of a saving, accuracy gain, adoption result, or safety outcome for the studio.
Good. Then do not let the word contained make an untrustworthy experiment sound safe. If we cannot attribute every routing stage, the replay's quality number may be unfalsifiable. We would not know whether quality held or whether we simply could not see where it broke. The same is true for cost. An unbounded cancellation path and incomplete attribution mean a neat total may not describe the actual exposure. So I am changing the decision from pilot to observe. That is not rejection. It is sequencing. The interesting thing about Switchyard is still the instinct to reserve stronger reasoning for the moments it is genuinely needed. But an accountable router must be observable before it can be evaluated.
Accepted. I would not put this on a live path. I would not create credentials or route traffic. And I would not run the replay I proposed until the route itself can be inspected end to end. The next move is deliberately uneventful. Watch for a reproducible tagged release or a locked reproducible build, verify full per stage routing attribution, require a pre-registered non-inferiority threshold against a capable-only baseline, and set a human rework ceiling before a cost comparison is even allowed. If those things arrive, the smallest useful trial stays redacted, offline, and independently auditable. If they do not, then we have learned something valuable without paying to learn it in production.
Then that is the brief. Switchyard is not a deployment candidate. It is not yet a replay candidate either. It is a release worth watching because it names a real problem. An assistant should know when it needs stronger help. But the standard is higher than clever routing. We need to know what happened, why it happened, and whether the outcome held up for the person depending on it. Decision, observe. The experiment starts only when the instrument can be trusted.
They don't care like you think they do. Everybody's stuck in their own view. All the fear that you build ain't real, just a loop that you let yourself feel. So break it, drop it, let it collapse. No need to carry imaginary maps. The freedom's right where you standing at. The second you stop holding back.